House of the Dragons has completely ascended. With just one episode to go in season 2 of House of the Dragons, we might have just seen what might be the best episode of House of the Dragons so far. Hello everyone, I'm Finn. Welcome back to Finn Films. Join me today as we discuss everything that happened in season 2, episode 7 of House of the Dragons. What is easily my favorite episode of House of the Dragons so far. An episode where Vermithor throws a temper tantrum, Silverwing knocks Ulf over, and Aemond runs away? So as we remember at the end of our last episode, Rhaenyra was informed that Seasmoke, the dragon of her former husband, Rhaenyra Velaryon, was spotted suddenly with a rider flying over Driftmark. Episode 7 beginning with a confrontation between Rhaenyra and Adam of Hull, as Adam is revealed to be the rider of Seasmoke to no one's surprise. Rhaenyra is obviously not happy at first about this, as she has now confronted a mysterious man who has claimed a Targaryen dragon. Not just any dragon, the dragon that belonged to her former husband, Rhaenyra Velaryon. But to her surprise, the man, being Adam of Hull, pledges allegiance to her. Of course, we know this man to be Adam of Hull, one of the bastards sons of Lord Corlys Velaryon, along with his brother Alan of Hull, as it seems to be revealed that these two brothers seemingly have Targaryen blood, possibly from their mother. Adam being the first non-highborn Targaryen person with Targaryen blood to claim a dragon, which sets some dominoes of chaos in motion. Many people believing that it was Adam's relation to Lord Rhaenyra, as they were half-brothers, that was the main reason why the dragon Seasmoke would choose him to be his new rider. If you remember in the previous episodes, we saw Rhaenyra set her plan in motion to try to find new riders for her unridden dragons, the dragons at the time being Seasmoke, Vermithor, and Silverwing. This plan ending horribly wrong, as we saw in the last episode. Seasmoke leaving Sir Steffon Darkling in an absolute pile of ash as the knight attempted to claim the dragon, but it seems now that a new path has emerged for Rhaenyra to ultimately find her dragon riders. Not to use those highborn lords with possibly an inkling of Targaryen blood in their veins, but to use lowborn Targaryen bastards known as dragon seeds, something that her council is not too happy about. This was an absolutely awesome scene. I absolutely loved it. What a great way to kick off our episode in this kind of cool, almost like Western standoff fashion. As well, I thought it was really cool as we actually get some size comparisons between Rhaenyra's dragon Syrax and Seasmoke in this kind of wide shot scene, as a lot of times it is hard to tell exactly how big the dragons are in this show unless they are like standing next to another dragon, so we actually get them to scale in size, and we see that Seasmoke is somewhat larger than Rhaenyra's dragon Syrax, which would make sense as Seasmoke is supposed to be a little bit older, maybe by like around 20-25 years if I'm remembering correctly. In King's Landing, whispers of Seasmoke and its new mysterious rider have already reached the people. However, Larys, the master of whispers, doesn't think that this whisper is actually legit. Larys deciding that it would not be a good idea to tell Aemond, the new king regent, about this, something that he will definitely regret by the end of the episode. Back on Dragonstone, we see the Black's Council is still quite angry at Rhaenyra for her many rash decisions and her actions, specifically her unwillingness to listen to them, many people on the council believing Rhaenyra to be weak, as well as, like I said, rash, as now Rhaenyra is breaking completely with tradition and accepting this bastard, this lowborn man, to be a dragon rider, as if we remember, dragons in Game of Thrones, specifically the Targaryens, are seen as gods. They are seen as gods because of their ability to ride dragons, but now that a lowborn has claimed a dragon and is a dragon rider, what really does this mean for the Targaryens? As well, they are angry that Rhaenyra is not listening to their council. As we see in this scene, Rhaenyra has opted not to come and speak with them. Instead, Rhaenyra opting to go and meet with Mysaria. If we remember from the last episode, Rhaenyra and Mysaria have grown, well, quite close to say the least. Mysaria in many ways becoming Rhaenyra's newest, closest advisor, kind of replacing Princess Rhaenys' role in this matter, except with a little more kissing. Here, Rhaenyra finally understands what she must do to win this war. In order to find riders for Vermithor the Bronze Fury, the largest dragon alive behind Vhagar, as well as the dragon Silverwing, another older dragon in its own right, she must put out a call for dragon seeds, or better known as Targaryen bastards. Quick side note, last week I released a video detailing and discussing every single dragon that appears in House of the Dragon, as well as their rider, as well as the mini dragons so far that have not appeared in House of the Dragons, which likely will. If you want to learn more about specifically the history of Vermithor and Silverwing, I highly recommend go checking that video out, especially if you're into history and lore of Game of Thrones and the lore of the dragons. Next, we see Adam meet with Lord Corlys, his bastard father. Adam wanting nothing more his entire life than to earn the favor of his father, to actually make something of himself, and we see that he finally does. Lord Corlys giving him a job well done, something that he has been craving for his entire life. Back in Harrenhal, we see Daemon meeting with the River Lord, specifically the new Lord Tully, the young Lord Tully. If we remember in the last episode, the old Lord Tully died of quite sus circumstances, possibly, I would say likely, at the hand of one Alice Rivers. It seems like Daemon might finally get the army that he has been searching for with this new rise of this young Lord Tully. Daemon, we see, still very much fancying himself as a king, but you see, the River Lords know that the power that they hold over Daemon here, while yes, they did swear themselves to Viserys and his daughter Rhaenyra, they know that they have what Daemon wants, specifically swords and warriors. This is really a kind of major character moment for Daemon in our story, as throughout our entire story, seasons 1 and 2 so far, Daemon has very much been a hothead. Daemon has very much been headstrong, basically doing whatever he wants throughout the entire series, regardless of the consequences, hence why he is known as the Rogue Prince. However, here though, the River Lords are forcing him to make a hard decision, as the River Lords want justice. They demand justice for the horrific war crimes that were committed by Lord Blackwood. As we remember in the previous episodes, Lord Blackwood took Daemon's orders a little too literally, committing a bunch of war crimes in order to motivate the Brackens to get on side and to swear fealty to Daemon. Daemon, though, knows what he must do in order to gain the swords that he has been so desperate for, the army that he needs in order to claim the throne. Daemon decides to lop the head off of Lord Blackwood in order to gain the trust and loyalty of the River Lords, as in this moment we see Daemon very much almost mentally break here. Next, we have another Daemon vision scene, the only Daemon vision scene of this episode, as we see Daemon walking through the halls of Harren the Black, a strange black goat making an appearance. That's not ominous at all. Daemon entering his bedchambers, where he sees the decaying form of his own brother, King Viserys Targaryen. Here, Viserys offers Daemon the thing that he has always wanted his entire life, the crown. Viserys telling him that the crown is a heavy weight and it crushes whoever wears it, yet Daemon has still always coveted it his entire life. This kind of being the real through line of all of Daemon's visions we've seen throughout Season 2, specifically his lust for the crown, his lust for power, his anger at being the second son, and his vitriol at his brother, as well as for Rhaenyra, his wife, for taking what he believes is his rightful birthright, the kingship, the Iron Throne, the crown. I'll be very curious to see in our episode finale, as well as in Season 3, what ultimately happens with Daemon's story, as Daemon's story is easily one of my favorite through lines, favorite story threads of House of the Dragon so far, and I really love the kind of changes they've made to Daemon's story, specifically his interactions with Alice Rivers and his many dream and trippy vision sequences. Back to King's Landing, and we see the horrible, scarred, and burned body of Aegon, the king, relearning to walk, and man, is our boy fucked up. Lord Larys enters the king's chambers as he hears the cries of pain of the king, as we learn that Lord Larys is the one who is pushing King Aegon to relearn to walk and to recover quickly, as both Aegon and Larys know that the king is in danger the longer that he is recovering, as Aemond could very easily kill him and claim his crown whenever he wants. Larys very much using King Aegon's kind of vulnerability here to kind of worm himself in with the king's good graces. Back to Driftmark, where we see Lord Corlys meet with his other bastard son, Alan of Hull, played by my man Abu Bakr. Corlys tells Alan that the queen has a special mission for him that will take him into Blackwater Bay. As well, he tells him that his brother Adam has somehow claimed a freaking dragon. Corlys telling Alan that he should very much think of attempting to claim a dragon for himself. However, Alan seems to refuse this offer, saying that he is of Salton Sea. Alan in many ways being a true Valyrian of Driftmark, something that his bastard father very much notices. Over in the Vale, we see Rhaenyra's young sons being sent to Pentos for safe haven with Rhaena, as suddenly though, Rhaena runs away, seemingly pursuing the wild dragon we learned about in the last episode, this wild dragon most likely being Sheepstealer. I said this in my breakdown of last week's episode, as well as in my section of my dragon video over Sheepstealer, but it very much seems like they are gearing in the show House of the Dragons, Rhaena, to ultimately claim the dragon Sheepstealer, a plot point that is a major kind of diversion from the plot of Fire and Blood, as Rhaena does not claim Sheepstealer in Fire and Blood. Back on Dragonstone, we see a very heated confrontation between Rhaenyra and her son Jace. Jace very much not being down with this idea of lowborns potentially claiming dragons, as Jace points this out, that the dragons are the thing that separates the Targaryens from the rest of the other highborn people. The dragons are where the Targaryens derive their legitimacy. It is the thing that makes them gods amongst the eyes of just mere mortal common folk. This is also a double sore spot for Jace, as we know that Jace is technically a bastard, his father being Harwin Strong. As we saw throughout Season 1, people constantly claiming that Rhaenyra's children were not legitimate, Jace's dragon being his main symbol of legitimacy his entire life. But now that anyone could possibly claim a dragon, what symbol does that really mean? As well, it seems like Jace is potentially worried about his succession, as right now, Jace is Rhaenyra's heir. Jace would ultimately claim the throne should Rhaenyra die, and it is, as I said, his dragon that very much gives him his legitimacy, as it very much seems a bit of a fractious point is being formed between Rhaenyra and her son Jace. Back in King's Landing, we've seen that rumors have been spread that Rhaenyra is looking for Targaryen bastards, that she will take them to Dragonstone to attempt to claim a dragon, as we see our two favorite Targaryen bastards, Ulf and Hugh, these two characters being revealed over the course of Season 2 to be Targaryen bastards, Ulf claiming to be the bastard brother of Viserys and Daemon, while Hugh saying that his mother was the bastard sister of Viserys and Daemon, both of them deciding to venture on this journey to head to Dragonstone to ultimately claim a dragon. And can you really blame them when their entire lives have been, well, pretty much shit? Here we return to Dragonstone, where we finally get a series of scenes that I have been waiting for the entire season, specifically the claiming of the dragons Vermithor and Silverwing. Rhaenyra meets with these Targaryen bastards, where we see Ulf and Hugh in the crowd, Rhaenyra explaining the situation to them and explaining that she will allow them to attempt to claim two of her dragons. Specifically, first of all, Vermithor The Bronze Fury, as we get some of the most epic scenes I've seen in all of House of the Dragons, nay, in all of Game of Thrones so far. As in an absolutely epic scene, we see Vermithor, the second largest dragon alive in Westeros right now, emerge from the shadows in this absolutely epic set of scenes. This scene in particular being a kind of callback to Season 1, where we first see Vermithor emerge from the shadows and meet Daemon in the Dragonmont, as well as this scene here being a mirror of the cover photo of House of the Dragons we see of young Rhaenyra and her dragon Syrax. For a little bit of lore and context, Vermithor was said to have been born around 34 AC, AC being after the Conquering, almost 100 years before the Dance of the Dragons in our current timeline. Vermithor being described as a bronze dragon with great tan wings and having a temper and being completely ferocious. Vermithor hatching from an egg that was placed in the cradle of Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen, the old king that we saw in episode 1, who reigned before Viserys. After these absolutely epic scenes, some of my favorite scenes in the entire episode, where we really get a first kind of good look at Vermithor, and we get to actually see Vermithor's size, as I said, Vermithor is the second largest dragon alive right now, behind the great dragon Vhagar. Rhaenyra suddenly leaves, watching from afar as we see these Targaryen bastards step forward to attempt to claim this great dragon. And things go about as horribly as you'd think they would be. Vermithor absolutely chomping down, setting many of these men and women alight in flame as chaos absolutely reigns out. These scenes were absolutely brutal as we see all of these Targaryen bastards set alight. It makes it even crazier the fact that they set these actors on fire, which we see in the behind the scenes of this episode, which I think is still absolutely crazy that they set many people on fire when they shoot many of these dragon fire scenes. We see calamity ensue as the remaining Targaryen bastards flee, many of them falling off this pedestal down to the Dragonmont below, Vermithor feasting on many of these people, setting them alight, but we see that our boy Hugh is still alive in this really kind of cool, constant, steady cam shot where there's basically no hard cuts for the entire scene. Here we see Hugh step forward in a moment of bravery, saving this Targaryen bastard woman as he looks up above him at the towering, monstrous bronze dragon. Hugh letting out a manly as fuck battle cry as ultimately he claims the dragon, the Bronze Fury submitting to him, Hugh having risen from a lowly peasant of King's Landing to a freaking dragon rider. Not just any dragon either, one of the most powerful dragons alive at the time. Meanwhile, deeper in the Dragonmont, we see Ulf scuttling away for his life, completely terrified as he makes his way deeper into the dragon's den. Here, he encounters one of my favorite dragons, the gorgeous, amazing she-dragon, Silverwing. Silverwing is a she-dragon said to have been born in 36 AC and was first claimed by Queen Alysanne Targaryen, making it somewhere between 80 to 90 years old during the Dance of the Dragons. After the death of Queen Alysanne, the dragon would remain riderless until this very moment, when it was finally claimed by Ulf, the dragon being much more timid and shy and sweet when you compare it to Vermithor. Silverwing in this kind of cute, funny scene knocking Ulf over, as ultimately she does submit to him, Ulf becoming a dragon rider. Next, we get a quick scene on the small council in King's Landing, as we learn that Aemon's youngest brother, Prince Daeron's dragon, has finally taken to wing, as it seems we will most likely see Daemon and his dragon Tessarion, possibly even in the series finale of Season 2 of House of the Dragons. At the very least, we will see it in the early episodes of Season 3. Suddenly, though, cries ring out from the city, cries of a dragon overhead. Aemon quickly rushing out of the small council, looking to the skies, to where we see Ulf, to our surprise, flying over King's Landing on Silverwing. These scenes of Ulf riding a dragon for the first time are hilarious. The balls of this guy to actually go and fly over King's Landing, as we need to remember that Dragonstone really is not that far away from King's Landing. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away over the water to Blackwater Bay, and if you're riding a dragon, it's even closer than that. Aemon we see quickly rushing to his monstrous dragon Vhagar, mounting the great she-dragon and taking off after Silverwing and Ulf, ultimately with the intent to kill them. Aemon we see pursue Ulf and Silverwing to Dragonstone, where to his surprise and shock, he is faced down by 3 dragons. Aemon for the first time since Season 1 showing fear in his eyes, as to our surprise, we see Aemon turn away, as we get this absolutely epic shot at the end of our episode of Rhaenyra standing before her 3 great dragons, her dragon Syrax, the massive bronze dragon Vermithor, as well as the great dragon Silverwing. No longer is Rhaenyra the underdog. If anything, the playing field has now been leveled, and Rhaenyra might possibly have the advantage, as now she has 2 riders for 2 of her strongest dragons. These 3 dragons easily probably able to take on Vhagar and Aemon. As well, she doesn't know this at the time, but Daemon in the Riverlands now has an army, a Bannerlords of the Riverlords under his service, and as it seems like the tides have finally shifted, as our series finale will likely see the kickoff of really, truly this great battle of the Dance of the Dragons. Real quick, in this next section, I'm going to be discussing some potential spoilers for House of the Dragon, so if you want to avoid spoilers, skip to the time on screen now to look at my review for this episode. So as I've been saying the last couple of weeks now, it very much seems like they've been gearing up Rhaena Targaryen to ultimately claim the wild dragon She-Smoke, a dramatic shift from the story of Fire and Blood, where the bastard Nettles is ultimately the person who claims Sheepstealer, and we see in our teaser segment of the next episode, episode 8 of Season 2 of House of the Dragon, some potential frames that actually might be this dragon's Sheepstealer. It very much seems like this is the direction they are going, as it does not seem like Nettles has even been cast in House of the Dragon, as it seems like Nettles will not be appearing at all in House of the Dragon. Rhaena very much getting this storyline. It seems like Rhaena will indeed claim this wild dragon's Sheepstealer, or I imagine die in the process, but it very much seems like they are setting Rhaena up to claim this dragon and ultimately have her coming of age story, Rhaena becoming a more significant character in the Dance of the Dragons if she were to claim Sheepstealer. And again, as I said, it very much seems from these teaser segments for the next episode that this is indeed Sheepstealer. As well, it is possible we will see 2 other new dragons in episode 8 of House of the Dragon, as it very much seems like we will be seeing Tessarion, the dragon of Daemon Targaryen, the youngest son of Alicent, in the next episode. Tessarion being a small blue dragon, which it kind of seems like we get a scene of this in the teaser trailers for the next episode. As well, in the teaser, we see Aemon confront Rhaena Targaryen, Aemon telling his sister that she must mount her dragon Dreamfire and ultimately ride it into battle. So far, we have yet to see Rhaena's dragon Dreamfire in the series, but it seems like we may actually get to see Dreamfire in the next episode, though I highly doubt we will actually see Rhaena ride the dragon. As well, real quickly, we need to talk about Ulf and Hugh, the new dragon riders, as these two dragon riders do play a significant role for Rhaenyra in the Dance of the Dragon, as without them, she would very much not be able to ultimately win this war. However, we do know that Jace's fear of these bastards claiming these dragons and ultimately claiming power for themselves does bore out to be true in Fire and Blood, as both Hugh and Ulf ultimately do turn on Rhaenyra towards the end of the war. I'm very curious to see if Hugh and Ulf in House of the Dragons are going to follow this same kind of story beat, or if they're going to differ this slightly. I have a feeling, though, that we will see an ultimate betrayal of Hugh and Ulf against Rhaenyra, possibly in Season 4. Assuming there is a Season 4 of House of the Dragons. All in all, an absolutely amazing episode. This is the episode that I've been looking forward to the most so far in Season 2, this ultimately claiming of a dragon by Hugh and Ulf, and we finally get to see one of my favorite dragons of all time, Vermithor. This episode was absolutely amazing. It had some of my favorite scenes of all time of House of the Dragons so far. That opening shot of Rhaenyra, Syrax, and Adam and Seasmoke was an absolutely amazing shot, as well as the mini scenes where we first see Vermithor for the first time. This scene of Vermithor emerging from the shadows like a complete fucking nightmare beast, as well as the scene of Rhaenyra reaching out and touching the great dragon's massive head, and obviously the scene of Vermithor behind Rhaenyra, very much mirroring the kind of like poster scene that we've seen of House of the Dragons, where Rhaenyra is standing in front of Syrax as a young girl. This episode was absolutely amazing. It was very much peak Game of Thrones. It was absolutely amazing. We got so many dragon scenes in this episode. This might have been the most dragon scenes we've seen so far in a House of the Dragons episode. I can't even imagine what this episode cost in post-budget production, as we know that every single time they animate and use CGI to create one of these dragons, it costs them buku bucks. So I can only imagine how much it cost in this episode. House of the Dragons has really truly continued to surprise me. It just seems to get better and better with each episode, as this truly is peak Game of Thrones. They have very much learned from their mistakes towards the end of the seasons of Game of Thrones from a writing perspective, as well as just from an editing and just overall perspective in filmmaking. I am absolutely in love with House of the Dragons. I don't want it to end. The fact that next week's episode is the season finale is absolutely tragic, and we're going to have to wait another year plus before season 3 of House of the Dragons to continue our story of this civil war, as things are going to get even more insane in season 3. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed and a lot of dragon fighting. I absolutely loved it. I think when season 2 is fully wrapped, that this episode, episode 7, will be my favorite episode of the entire season, but I guess we're going to have to wait until the season finale of next week to really come to that conclusion and actually find out. As always, guys, if you did enjoy this video, learn something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what your favorite moment from this episode was in the comment section down below, as well as your favorite dragon from House of the Dragons. Again, if you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to help support me and put this video into the algorithm. If you did enjoy this video, then why don't you check out some of my other House of the Dragons content on screen now, like my video going into every single dragon that appears in House of the Dragon in detail, as well as my mini other episode breakdowns from season 2 of House of the Dragon. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, drink your water, hug your mother. Until next time, peace, love, adu.